Hey there! If you're looking for a fun and easy way to earn rewards, including cash and prizes, check out the link in the video description.
He was courted by the doyens of Germany's high society, but Adolf Hitler's own dark obsession and warped sexual fantasies revolved around much younger women. The Führer, hailed as a rock star politician by wealthy women who sought to refine him, bedded a series of teens including his own 16-year-old niece, who met a tragic death as consequence. Behind closed doors, he also indulged extreme sexual fantasies, getting one naked lover to put on his own boots and savagely kick him. His deadly affairs also led to at least one other mysterious death and the attempted suicide of a 17-year-old, who was 20 years his junior. Now, a new Sky History documentary, Hitler's Handmaidens, details the Führer's secret sex life and relationships with the women he wanted to keep hidden. Author and historian Jane Thine says, "What is interesting about many of the women that had relationships with Hitler is that they either attempted or committed suicide, and he patently had a very, very potent traumatizing, almost desolating effect on women to cause them to try and kill themselves." Experts believe that Hitler's bizarre relationships with women began with the very first one in his life, his mother. When Hitler was born in Austria in April 1889, he was his mother Clara's fourth child, but the only one to live, and she was determined that little Adolf would not only survive but thrive. While he was doted on and spoiled by his devoted mother, he was brutalized by his alcoholic father. Historians have been left wondering if Clara loved her son too much, and this is what warped his future relationships with women. Psychologist Anna Motz says, Hitler's relationship with women appears to have been extremely complicated. So we know from the records that he had this enmeshed, over-involved relationship with a loving, protective mother. And he was brutalized by a man who appears to have been sadistic and violent. So, on the one hand, he's seeking this maternal comfort. On the other hand, he doesn't seem able to relate to women who are his equals. But Clara's never-questioning love for her son gave him one thing, huge self-belief. He had an unswerving faith in his opinions and thought of himself as devastatingly handsome and intelligent. Hitler was convinced he was meant for greater things, and his steadfast ambition would eventually cast a shadow over Europe. But his first teenage crush didn't go how he planned. An awkward Hitler became enthralled with 19-year-old Stephanie Isaac, a tall, blonde and wealthy music student a couple of years older than him. Historian Phil Caradis explains, he worshipped her. She was the ideal Germanic woman, the Aryan woman. And for 2 years, Adolf Hitler followed her, stalked her, for want of a better word, but never spoke to her. Disturbingly, he told his friend he wanted to kidnap her and marry her, followed by fantasies that they would kill themselves by jumping off a bridge together. Thankfully, he never carried out his twisted plan, and shortly afterwards, his mother died, leaving him devastated. Every day for the rest of his life, he carried a picture of her in his pocket. But the young Adolf was rejected by the Austrian army and found himself homeless and destitute. So, he joined the Germans fighting against the Western Allies. One story claims that in the summer of 1917, Hitler was on leave from the war and met a 16-year-old French girl in the countryside. They had a brief sexual encounter, which resulted in the birth of his illegitimate child. Later analysis showed that the men who could be father and son shared the same unusual handwriting, but experts say the patronage is impossible to prove. Herta Oberhauser. When American soldiers liberated the Ravensbrück concentration camp for women, they saw evidence of unimaginable atrocities. But one person in particular haunted the survivors. They told of a beast masquerading as a human, female Dr. Herta Oberhauser. Historian Wendy Lower explains, she's been assigned to experiments to test the effects of wounds on the human body. If they can see how a wound that's inflicted by shrapnel is going to affect an ordinary German soldier and all the ways that could be treated. She's putting sawdust in there, putting glass shards, putting various chemicals and rubbing that in. Pauline Neisler. In late 1939 Hitler turned his attention to euthanasia in Th.